Hello everyone, this is John from Vulgar Kitten Studios and welcome to episode 9 of our Introduction to Web Development and PHP MVC. Today what we're going to be doing is working on our controller command so that we can create controllers. And we might possibly get to the views as well, which means that we'll actually have to work on our file service. So I'm going to try to get as much done in this video as possible without running over 30 minutes. So let's just go ahead and get started. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and open up our controller and go ahead and get the view as well. And let me grab the service. We'll go into Models, Services, and we'll go into File. And we'll just start out with our controller. So, like everything else, we have our make function, which I'm going to go ahead and just make our controller base, so that way it's a little bit easier to access controllers. And we'll want to put on that backslash, or that, the forward slash. And so now we can probably say, we'll say if the file exists, then we are going to look in our controller base plus the name of the controller and put on PHP. So if that's the case, then we want to shell write a controller with that name already exists, and put on our line break, make that red, and then we'll just throw in else. Else we'll switch and if we make an empty controller, then we are going to want to just basically say that we'll make a template, which is going to be app service view make templates code controller empty, and we'll pass in the name of the controller, so the name, and that's going to be equal to name, and we'll also need to make the template. So let's go into our code here, controller, let's make a new file, call that controller empty .blade.php, and essentially all we want to do is just basically the same thing that we did with our commands. So what we'll do is we'll use the shorthand echo from PHP to echo out some PHP tags and make this a PHP file, put in our comments section, and add the name space sexy controllers, and we want to use sexy app, and we'll make a class by the name of name, and we'll just give it a public function index as the default method. And so that is our template. Now what we need to do is actually put the template somewhere. So we'll say file, put contents, controller base name .php with the template, and we'll shell write successfully created controller, and put in our line break, make that green, and that should be all that we have to do, at least for the make. So let's go ahead and try to make the PHP lace controller make home controller. And what do we got? Well, I don't think that we don't actually have a folder for that, so we need to make the controllers folder within our app directory, and then we can actually make the controller. So let's see, we have controllers, and there is our home controller, and it's formatted correctly. Alright, so let's go on to the delete function, which is just as straightforward as the create function or the make function. So we'll just say if our file exists, the controller base, which, let's see, put in the name and .php first, and else. We will go ahead and copy in our controller base variable from up here. And if it exists, then we want to unlink the controller base name.php, and we want to show write successfully deleted name. And we'll put on our line break, make that green. And otherwise we have to output an error, so we'll system or shell write no controller by or named name exists. Make that red, and we'll go ahead and test that out, and we'll PHP lace controller delete home controller. And we successfully deleted, so let's try it again. We get the error, and we'll make that controller again, because we actually do want that controller. So I'm going to just leave that in there just like that. And now we want to be able to make a view as well, so we'll move on to our view command. But we also are going to need to create a service because we want to be able to specify a file path. We need a make directory function in order to do that, and that is a little bit more complicated. So what we're going to have to do is create a service for that. We'll go into the file service here, and I'm just going to make a public static function called make dir, just like the regular command that you see in the command line, and we'll pass in the path, and we'll say if is directory our path, then we'll return true, and previous path, we'll set the substring path, and we'll make that 0, but we'll also pass in the strpass or strpass function to check the path, and we want to make that -2 plus 1. And so we need to make a return variable, which will be self mkdir, the previous path, because we want to recursively create the directories if we specify more than one file path, and then we'll return our return and make sure that it is writable, our previous path, and we'll use this as a ternary operator to mkdir path, otherwise we return false. And that should allow us to recursively create directories within our application. So now that we have that service, we can actually move on to the view command. So let's go ahead and go down to our else, and we'll switch on type, which we don't actually really need a type, I don't think. But honestly, I don't know. In your application, you may have different types of views, like different types of templates that you want to create. So we'll just leave the types in there and just continue doing the template thing like we have been doing. And so we'll say if the file exists, and we'll create another view base and concatenate on the name and the file extension, which is going to be .blade.php. Then we'll do some error checking, otherwise we'll actually create the view within a switch statement for the type. So we need a view base, so we'll create the view base, and that is going to be equal to app views / and we'll shell write that view already exists, and we'll make that red. And now we'll need a file variable. Well, actually, that's got to go within our switch statement here. We'll need a file variable, and we'll just initialize that as an empty string to use for our file name. So we'll say if str_pos our name, and we'll check for a /. So if there are any // within our file, then we'll have to create those directories and stuff. Otherwise, we can just actually create just a regular view within the base. So we'll say template is equal to app service view make, and we want to make templates code view empty, and we'll file put contents with our view base, enter in our path, and well, that's going to be our name. And that'll be .blade.php, and we'll throw in the templates as the file we want to put. So templates, and we'll shell write created view successfully, and put in our line break, make that green. Now, if there is actually a / within our view name that we pass in, then we want to actually make those directories and stuff. So we'll create a path variable and explode by the / our name. So we want an array of strings. So we'll say path is equal to array reverse, because we want to do this in reverse order, our path. And so our file is going to be equal to path 0, and then we'll go ahead and reverse that again so we can continue on with this. And if you didn't notice, we needed to just basically, we need a dynamic way to be able to set the file name, because we need to be able to have just the last piece of that. And so we reverse the array because we have no idea how long that array is going to be. We reverse the array so that way we know that the very end of the array is going to be the file. And so that's why we do that. And so we reverse it, store the path, or store the file, and then reverse the path again. And so now we can array pop our path, and then we'll path is equal to implode by the / and our path. And so then we'll say if app service file mkdir our view base plus our path, then we can create our template app service view make templates .code .view empty, and then we'll file put contents our view base plus our path plus a / and then our file plus .blade.php. And then we'll put in our template, and then shell write created view successfully, and put in our line break, make that green, and we're done. Except we now need to go ahead and make the template. So we'll go into our templates code, and within our view we'll go ahead and create a new file, and I'll go ahead and save this out, and we'll make this view empty.blade.php. Now the way that I like to do my views is I like to make a main view within the home of the views, and then extend that so that I can basically create a more reusable code structure. And so the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to output with regular PHP echoes the blade syntax of how we're going to extend that template, which right now it doesn't exist, but either way it'll put the syntax the way that I need it. So we'll say extends. This is blade syntax, so like if we did like at extends, then it would turn red and everything. So basically we want it to extends our templates front end main, and then we'll put on a line break and just echo out the next piece, which is going to be I'll create a section for the title, and we'll stop that section, and we'll need to have a \n, and we'll echo out our main content section. So we'll say section content and just \n and echo out. Stop. Like so. And that should actually create a well-formatted, extendable sort of view structure. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down and we'll see if it works. So I'm going to PHP lace, and I'll use the view command to make a make templates front end main. And so I'll go ahead and make the main template. So the view has been successfully created. Let's go ahead and go check it out. So we'll go into our views, templates, front end main. All right, so there we go. And now we can actually just go ahead and use emit to HTML5, and we'll make a yield here for the title. And I'll just go ahead and pipe this from sexy MVC, so that way it's all pretty and everything. And so we'll yield our content here, and I'll also yield some script area down here as well, so that way everything is going to line up perfectly. So I'm not really going to do anything else with views right now. We'll go into that a little bit later, but this is the file that I want every other view to extend. So now we can see that it actually put that view within front end, but let's say that we wanted to make we wanted to do one that doesn't exist in a directory. So we do PHP lace view make templates front end, and then pages, and just call that home. So we gotta, on line 13 in file, we have an error there, obviously. So let's go ahead and go into our models service. Well, we actually already have that opened up, so I don't need to open it up over here. So in file, line 13, it's undefined offset, so choosing previous path is equal to sub str path 0 str pause. And that should actually be working. So let me try that one more time. So make this under front end pages str pause, not contained in the string. And so let's see, if we want to actually make a directory, let's output contents. On line 63. Okay, so the problem is I actually called the wrong function here. It's not strpause, it's strrpause. And so that way we would actually be able to do this. So now if we try to do this, we can do PHP lace view make, and go into templates, front end, and pages home. And so that would actually create the directory and the view for us. And there we go. So that's a little bit more universal, and that's the way that I would prefer to do it. So that's how we're going to make that happen. All right, so now that we actually have that, we need to be able to delete a view. So I actually closed out of it. So now what we need to do is work on our delete method. We'll come down to the delete and put in our view base, which is going to be equal to app views, and put on that trailing /. And so if the name has been supplied, we will say if the file exists, view base plus the name plus blade.php or .blade.php. Then we'll just unlink the view base plus the name plus .blade.php, and we'll say system or shell write view successfully deleted and \n with a green color, and otherwise we will need to say shell write that view doesn't exist \n and red. So that should do it for us. We'll go ahead and PHP lace view delete templates front end pages home, and it successfully deleted it. So we actually do want that view, so I'm going to make it again, and we'll try deleting ho, and ho doesn't exist, so we are good to go. And really that pretty much does it for these specific commands. It's like all of the commands that we'll probably need to be able to make our routing system work in the browser. So again, we'll probably actually move on to the routing service in the next video. So I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.